what do you think is going to be Palantir's future for the next 6 months? Because we're at the halfway mark of the year. You can throw out a price target. You can throw out specific predictions on deals or partnerships or growth, just anything you're thinking for the next 6 months.
I'll start this one. So okay. I think that it depends. I'm already, like, again, as you said, like we're up 40%. So if we would stay flat until the end of the year, it would be a tremendous year for all shareholders, even though mentally I know that people would be complaining like, why aren't we moving? And I think that where we end the year, it depends on the next 2 earnings that are coming. And if we're going to see an acceleration in growth, if there is a surprise acceleration and they raise the guidance and it is what we think it is, it could be that we end the year, in the 35s. If there is just implication that, a lot of, there's a ton of AIP boot camps. They're saying that customers are reacting very positively, but there is not a revenue increase and not an increased guidance. I think we might end the year between the 25 to 20 range. And I think that the market it's my personal opinion, I don't think the contract announcements move the market so much because there has been so many that I think the market is like numb to Palantir market announcements, and it's like, okay, another one, cool.
Amir?
Yeah, I think Palantir is fairly valued at this range. And for the ones that want a detailed look at my model, there's a 30-minute video on my channel where I detail all the inputs and my thought process behind it. And, I'm not really one to predict pricing, but we have S&P inclusion as a potential catalyst. We have, I'm sure that the quarterly results will be above analyst expectations. So, there are plenty of catalysts to move the price up. We got a bunch of upgrades to the stock recently. Argus at 29, Bank of America reiterating 28. But it's always so interesting to me that sell-side analysts issue price targets so like after a quarter has ended, but before the earnings, because they're just going to revise that anyway. So I never understood the point of that. But yeah, we had the Mones one with the AI is a revenue illusion and a downgrade on Palantir. So remind me in X months about that one.
That was what they had. What, $20 on the downgrade?
$20 citing that AI is a revenue illusion, and I think they're gonna fuck around and find out.
Was there really one that gave a price target of $8? I couldn't tell if that was.
They meant to say Platica, but they ended up saying Palantir, so the Newswire got it wrong. The conspiracy is someone paid them, the Newswires, to like change it to Palantir to tank it, but it didn't work. So
no, I can buy it. That it's an honest mistake, but it's interesting. When I saw that, I was like, "Are we back in 22? We went from like the 40s to the 8s." So
dude, if Palantir got back to $8, it's never gonna happen. But if it did, I don't know.
Under the same circumstances, like the price could move to 8. It could be justified or unjustified. But under the current circumstances, if Palantir was 8, I think I would, for the first time in my life, take out leverage. I've never done that when investing. I think I would do that, and I would go 100% Palantir if it was at $8 today. Like it would be insane.
And it's so crazy because when it was at $8, I know all of us bought at $8, but we definitely. I think Vince bought the most at $8. I think your average is still 8, right, Vince?
Yeah.
So like, I'm sure all of us wish we bought a lot more, but that's the hard part about investing is like taking that leap of faith when no one believes.
But you're raising such an interesting point because I regret not having more shares. So even if I could have bought at 18, 15, 20, it would have been a very, very good decision. So it's not necessarily the average; it's how many shares you have.
Yeah,
Lisa said if it did, I would have a child and sell it.
I would like start to queue up selling my kidneys and stuff. But at that point, I was 100% of my portfolio in Palantir when it was at those levels. I think my wife has a 6.1 average. It moves up and down because the Swedish crown changes against the dollar. She bought at like 5.8, like a huge majority of her stake, but it's like because the dollar fluctuation.
Does she have on her overall portfolio? Is that a decent percentage, that Palantir position at $6, or is that kind of just?
Oh yeah. It's of course, since it's gone up like.
When is she starting her
300%.
YouTube channel? I mean,
she's
your channel. We need your wife's channel.
But you know what's funny? She's outperforming me in her investments, but she's a Forex trader. Like, she knows like nothing about.
I have a question. And do you give her crap about also like trading short term and
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like, really?
and she shuts me up really quickly.
Not the nights where he wants to get lucky. He shuts up on that.
But you know, it's so messed up because like she outperforms me in investing, even though I spend like most of my waking hours on this, and she's just like, looks good here buying. I'm like, what the fuck? You know. And then I give her crap for caring about charts. Like, she sits around and draws a line. I'm like, what the fuck is like, what's this crap? And then she just makes a killing.
You're like, you're like, honey, you don't get it. Technical analysis doesn't work. And then
yeah, it's all an illusion. And she's like, oh yeah, here's my P&L. I'm like, you can't really say much, but you know, it's frustrating at times, but I'm really proud of her and her Palantir average. She has a good AMD average. What other stocks does she have?
I think the big thing is, once you're convinced on something, you know, and the price is where you like it to be, like obviously right now 25 is a harder price to buy it at than 8, but it's just a lesson to go heavier when you actually do believe in something. Now, granted, the risk is up there because it wasn't proven at 8, but the things that were proven about it was the leadership for sure, even though we had some leadership changes, and the product to an extent. The thing that wasn't proven was the go-to-market, and that was the scariest part at $8, because like, what if they never figure out how to sell this? But we always knew you could figure out sales. You can't figure out you know, it's hard to replicate product.
Yeah, but also at the time we had the 30% CAGR promise from Palantir as well, so you could really project out a lot of years. And I think at the time, I know I made this reference. I know Mariana made this reference. I know Arnie was big on it. But basically, if you purchased at 8, you bought government and got commercial for free. Yeah, and that was really a lot of margin of safety if you invested in that range. So I was really never worried. That's why I was comfortable going 100% of my portfolio in Palantir at the time. Now it's more like a third of my portfolio. But I still don't think it's expensive here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we move towards the $30 range towards the end of the year.
Yeah, and Garcia makes a good point here. I mean, when it's at $100 or $200, it really doesn't matter if the average is 25, 20, you know, 17, 18, even 30. Like, the point is, if it does what we all think it can become, if you're buying below, let's say 35, and you have that average for a while, you're going to make a ton of money. So
I'm going to give you a hot take here. I think it really matters if you bought at 20 or 25. It's a 4 or 5x. It's a big difference.
I don't know. Like, for $5, that's not. If it's $8 versus 25, I understand.
But it's a doubling of your money at that point.
I get it, but you can't be a psychic to get the.
No, you can't. But I mean, you shouldn't like throw it out the window. Like,
when are you better? 1,000 shares at $8 or 10,000 shares at $25 when the stock goes to?
Yeah, the latter, of course, but I'm just saying, like, it's not the hugest deal, but I mean, it does matter, so don't pretend like it's
no. But But I will fight back. It cannot. If you want to be a healthy investor with a non-toxic mentality, you cannot go crazy over $1 or $2 here or there. In the long term, yes, it might mean more returns, but from $20 to $30, like, you can't kill yourself. And knowing that you could have bought more at 21 versus 26.
I think the dollar amount, like, argument, it doesn't really matter if a stock is 100 or 98, but 20 and then plus or minus $2, that's 10%. So like, the lower the stock price is, the more compounding effect you do lose. I mean, it's not a huge deal. I'm just saying, like.
But I think the difference is when you if it means that you're not going to buy any shares at all. Right, buying at 18 versus buying at 20, in 20 years' time, it's not going to matter. Right, the fact that the thing that's going to matter is that you bought. Right, and I think what a lot of people end up doing is they're waiting for the perfect price. They're still waiting for it to go back to $15, and that may not come. And I think what Garcia is trying to say here is it's at a decent price now for where we think it will be in the future, which is probably over $100, maybe 150, 200, whatever you think it is. Is it really going to matter that a difference of 20% in stock price, 25% in stock price? Or what's really going to matter is that you got the stock and that you wrote it up 4 to 5x. And I think that that's what he's referring to. That, of course, we all agree.
Yeah, I buy that argument. Yeah, I can agree with that argument. Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Because it looks like it's going to be a Trump presidency after this debate, and how that affects Palantir in the future.
No, Amir, you don't get to talk first. You're from fucking Sweden.
Okay,
you don't get to talk about this shit.
Sorry. Relax. Okay.
He said Trump. Okay, this is America. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But I don't think it matters. Biden or Trump, I think Palantir is going to do well. I really don't think it matters. Overall market might do better if Trump wins, but for Palantir, I think they're going to get contracts either way because they're just too important. Matt?
Mm-hmm. I need to do a little bit more DD. I think from a Space Force perspective, I know Trump was the one that started Space Force, and he probably will be very adamant about continuing to grow it. And there might be potential military expansion when Trump kind of comes to power, because he is very much about the military, making sure that those guys have the supplies that they need in case anything happens. I don't think he wants to use it by any means, but sometimes a strong military is a nice deterrent to have. And so I think that might lead to a little bit more. But at the same time, I haven't seen the Department of Defense or anything shy away from using Palantir over the last 3 years. So it's not like I feel like it's going to go away. But I'd have to look at what other areas that Palantir has really doubled down in. And I'd say a lot of them are probably very unpolitically motivated. Like healthcare is always going to be a big piece, and Palantir is big in healthcare. I feel like the DoD is always going to be spending money regardless of what president. So I think the only one that I can think of is like space, maybe. And I think that might be slightly stronger under Trump than, but I also think, it's not necessarily strictly about the US. Yes, we're a US based company, but if you think about it in this perspective, 3/4 of the world is going through an election this year. And so, the remaining quarter is just going to be the only ones that are stable. So I think that there's a lot of potential bias towards what is the US is, because we are the largest economy at the moment. But I think that really what we should be really investigating, and maybe this is a topic for future conversation, is looking at what European countries and what other countries around the world might be more willing to use Palantir, because there are some large markets and some areas that we haven't necessarily dove deep into yet, like Germany and many other governments that with a new election and a new person at the helm, we might be able to actually break into. And that could be getting Europe out of its stagnation, right? Because a lot of what we've seen from a Palantir growth perspective has been driven by U.S. commercial and U.S. government, and less likely international commercial from Palantir side, right? So the hope for me is, U.S. commercial is going to continue to grow. It's been doing really well over the past couple quarters. Can we reignite the growth that we have yet to really see in European government as well as European commercial?
Amir?
Karp was recently asked this. I don't remember which outlet. I think it was at AIP Con, and Yahoo Finance asked him. I could be wrong. But the quote was like, Palantir does not really care. They will do well under both administrations. They have proven that for the past 20 years.
Yeah.
So he said that they don't really care. However, I do believe that Trump will make Palantir have better results. As Matt mentioned, defense spending. Palantir is really big on making the American military strong. So there will be focus on defense spending. And also, he really doesn't want other nations to leech off of the US. So he will most likely force other countries to bolster their own defenses. It's not like we're going to send the 300 billion to Ukraine. No, he's going to force other nations to contribute as well, which could trickle their way into Palantir. And the implications are that the US will have a better economy under Trump, which makes more companies able to purchase Palantir products. And overall, I think the West will be stronger under Trump compared to Biden, and that's in line with Palantir's
All right, so
mission.
we know who you're voting for if you are American.